One major mission of the new Creation Museum in Petersburg, Kentucky, is bolstering the faith of kids who believe in creationism, but have that belief bashed by their schools and teachers.
From dinosaurs to DNA to carbon dating, kids of faith have questions these days. They're struggling to put together what their schools teach about science and what their beliefs are.
For evolution to be true, the Earth must be billions of years old, with life forms on it evolving slowly over hundreds of millions of years. That seems to contradict the biblical version of creation, with God making the Earth and its many life forms rapidly, and probably not all that long ago. I brought my boys, Austin and Ryan, both public school students, to investigate these opposing viewpoints with the Creation Museum's Dr. Jason LISLE. Upon seeing the many dinosaurs in the museum, the boys ask if evolutionists are right saying the dinosaurs lived tens of millions of years ago.
They like to believe that dinosaurs are millions of years old, and that the Earth's billions of years old.
But LISLE says material's been found in dinosaur remains that could last at the most thousands of years.
You know, we actually find dinosaur soft tissue, things like red blood cells, and can you imagine that lasting millions of years? It even looks fresh.
Do fossils support creation?
LISLE said creationists love the fossil record because it shows no evolving of species.
What we don't find is a continual sequence of one kind of organism changing into another kind, what they would call transitional forms. You ought to have millions of those things if evolution were true.
My teachers say human and ape DNA are so alike it proves evolution.
LISLE pointed out their DNA does have many similarities, but so what?
We actually have a lot of the same DNA as a banana, but that doesn't mean we evolved from a banana, does it?
But the boys wondered about all that dating of objects science does that seems to prove they're millions of years old. LISLE pointed to Mount St. Helens, where scientists radiometrically dated some of the brand new rocks just created by the volcano's eruptions in the 1980s.
And they came out at millions a year, hundreds of thousands to millions of years old, on rocks that we know are just a few years old. So you see, Mount St. Helens demonstrated that radiometric dating gives ages that are much older than the true age.
LISLE said the volcano backs creationism in so many ways, we went to Washington State ourselves to check it out. Lloyd Anderson of the Seven Wonders Creation Museum in nearby Silver Lake told us of the wild fury released by the volcano's monstrous explosion May 18, 1980, as seen in these famous photos by Gary Rosenquist.
This blast went sideways 17 miles out. It killed trees. 13 miles out, it killed people. Destroyed 234 square miles of forest in 3 minutes.
It was a long, hard slog to get up to the 8,400-foot-high rim of the volcano, but we made it after an arduous 6-hour hike and climb.
Before Mount St. Helens blew, it was about 1,000 feet taller than this. But after that massive explosion, there was a whole new world of wonders for scientists to study.
Anderson told us the explosion covered the huge valley area below the mountain with landslide material some 600 feet deep. Then 2 years later came another massive eruption, blasting right through that 600-foot deep material.
In the afternoon hours, as the crater becomes an oven, large amounts of water pours out of the crater with big pieces of volcanic rock and gouges out, first of all, channels, and then they deepen to ravines, and then they deepen to canyons. And by the end of the day, there's an entire enormous canyon system on the valley floor, all in one day.
You can see the results in these photos from Footprints in the Ash, a creationist book about Mount St. Helens. Before that day, scientists claimed it would take tens of millions of years to gouge out such canyons, and they stated it took 100 million years to form the many layers in the walls of Arizona's Grand Canyon. But a massive eruption in June 1980 laid down 25 feet of many complex layers in just 3 hours.
When it was all over, it had put down at least 200 layers in 190 minutes. That's better than a layer a minute.
Scientists will sometimes come upon many layers of fossilized forest piled up on top of each other and say it proves the ancient age of the Earth. But what Mount St. Helens' first big blow did in nearby Spirit Lake had a big surprise for them.
The catastrophe created a miniature of what the world probably looked like in the time of Noah and the flood. The massive mud flows, the rapid erosion, the gigantic wave that would have swept Spirit Lake's waters up over those slopes, bringing back over 1 million logs into the water. A surprising thing about these logs in Spirit Lake is the heavier ones sank to the bottom first, standing vertically, then lighter ones on top of that, lighter ones on top of those, until it looked like thousands of years of forest upon forest, but really created in just several years.
Now imagine how a violent worldwide flood, accompanied by volcanic activity all over the Earth, would radically and quickly alter everything on the planet.
The Earth can change quickly with a vast catastrophic event. We immediately go to the biblical flood because it would have changed every square foot of the face of the earth in a more radical condition.
Back at the Creation Museum, Dr. Lyle summed up why the volcano has been such a boon to creation scientists.
Mount St. Helens demonstrated that a lot of the things creationists claimed could happen in a short period of time really can.
And Lyle went on to point out to Austin and Ryan one thing after another that made the biblical creation seem a lot more realistic to them than the chaotic, evolved universe theorized by the evolutionists.
With resources like the Creation Museum in Kentucky available, Christian kids can head back into the public schools with their heads held high, knowing that what's in this book and what science says don't have to contradict each other. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Creation Museum in Petersburg, Kentucky.